Hey everybody, Fat Preacher Man here. Just wanted to do a short video about ways to keep your PS3 running, functioning properly, as long as possible without breaking down, getting yellow light of death, or the blinking red light. So today, the star of our video will be my slim PS3. And as you can see, this is I do have an attachment on here. It's a little extra USB thing. Gives me 3 more USBs and lets me use the other memory card slots. And so that's the only addition to this one. Otherwise, it's just your normal slim PS3 with the big hard drive. And so here we go. My first thing would be number 1, to clean the fan intakes and outlets, which are located here on the sides, along the back, and along the front. To keep those clean and free from dust, definitely clean them bare minimum once a month. Depending upon how dusty your home is, how many pets you have, what kind of area you live in, might need to be more. When you see dust accumulating, clean it off, because dust on the outside is going to lead to dust on the inside. And that leads us to number 2, which would be to clean the inside with a hairdryer on cool, or a can of condensed air, just some compressed air, every few months, maybe twice a year. If you guys live where they do daylight savings time, one of the things they teach you is to change your battery in your fire alarm every time the daylight savings time changes. I would do the same thing with your PS3. Just take that air and blow out any dust that is accumulated on the inside. That keeps it off the components and keeps it cooler, because even though those fans inside are powerful, dust still accumulates. It still gets in there and still sits on things, and causes them to trap in more heat. It acts like an insulation in a bad way. Next thing I would say is to, number 3, keep it well ventilated. Like I said, if you see those points we just talked about where the air is supposed to come in and out, those definitely need to keep clear. You don't want it resting flat up against anything on either side if you can help it. You don't want anything flush up against the back. I mean, it's kind of hard to have it flush against the back of the cords anyway, but you definitely want enough room for fresh air to get in there and circulate, because when it blows out that hot air, the worst thing is to have it suck that hot air back in again and try to cool the system with that. So give it some room. Let it keep ventilated. You want to keep it low also, but not on the floor. The floor is actually where most of the dust and dirt and hair and particles accumulate. So you don't want it on the floor, but you want it on low. If you use a entertainment center, keep it on one of the lower shelves, because again, heat rises. So the higher you have it, the more likely it is to get hot air in it. If you can help it, number 4, if you can help it, number 5, I'm sorry, number 4 was keep it off the floor, but low. Number 5 is do not force shut down your system unless you absolutely have to. There are circumstances, I've done it myself, where the system freezes, where it locks, where you overload it, and it just chokes, and you have to force shut it down, either with the power button or unplugging it. If it's an older model, having to use a switch. Do not do that unless you have to, especially if you're downloading something or if it's in the middle of saving. I've even had times where I just sat there and waited, and I thought it was frozen, and it became unfrozen. I had that happen in Fallout, had it happen the other day during Infamous, during Trophy Upload. Just give it a few minutes, go get a drink, something to snack on, and come back. And if it doesn't, then go ahead and force shut it down, because if things become corrupted, then you have all sorts of other issues, especially with downloads. It can cause you all sorts of headaches. Can cause problems with the hard drive, problems with the boot up, all sorts of things. So if you can help it, don't force shut down your system. Another thing, just to help keep the system cooler itself, for number 6, unplug unnecessary USB items. Anything that you plug into the USB ports is going to draw more electricity into the system, because those things have to be powered. So if you can charge your controller through a wall port, for example, I have one of these right here. It's a USB plug power outlet. You just plug in the USB to here. This one actually has 2, so it's pretty cool. Plug it in there, and then the other end, you plug the mini USB into your controller, and that way it doesn't have to go into your system, doesn't have to draw power through it, and the only time you need to plug in your controller is when you want to sync it. Cameras, anything you can plug in, unplug it when you're not using it. Again, it's just extra electricity flowing through your system is going to make it hotter, and the hotter it is, the more likely it's going to be to get that yellow light, the blinking red light. Again, it's not that you don't use the things, but when you're not using them, unplug them. One thing that I thought of that I thought would be pretty cool for systems that have broken down and you got back up and running, just to make sure that you can keep them even cooler, is get a laptop fan or a laptop cooler. And what that is I had one before, but I got rid of it. I wish I still had it here to show you guys. It's really just a flat device, has 4 fans built into it, and you put your laptop on top of it, and you plug it in, usually to a USB port or through a power port. But it's the same idea for the PS3. Instead of putting a laptop on top of it, you put the PS3 on top of it. Now that's ideal if you want to keep your PS3 flat, like this, if you just wanted to sit like that. But if you don't want to get a laptop fan, they're about 20 bucks, 30 bucks at the most. Amazon has them. If you don't want to get that, the next best thing would be keep your system standing upright on its side. And don't be afraid of that. You know, just have it steady. The base is pretty steady. So as long as you're not bumping into it, you're not roughhousing. If you don't have wild animals running around your house, you should be safe. But you also can buy a stand to help you keep it sturdy, just in case you're a little nervous about it. And that's one of the things I'm going to throw it out there real quick. That's better about the PS3 than the 360. The 360 was designed with the laser too close to the disc, so that even if it just wobbled, like if you just touch it like that, you would get a disc scratch. The laser would actually bump up against the disc. You'd hear it grinding, and then when you take the disc out, you'd get a ring, a concentric circle around and it'd ruin the disc, and eventually it would ruin the laser. But the PS3, the Blu-ray laser, is far enough away from the disc where that doesn't happen unless you like slam into it. So that was number 7. Number 8 was keep it on its side if you don't want to get a laptop cooler. If you get the cooler, it doesn't really make sense to keep it on its side. But you keep it on its side, you're keeping these vents straight blowing up into the air. So that and you got the side and then the front. So that would be the other recommendation. Number 9 is, if you can, this helps for a couple reasons. Use the Ethernet cable for your internet instead of the Wi-Fi. Again, the main reason is for the longevity of the system. Using that Wi-Fi drains electricity, and then when you have to use it, if you move or take to a friend's house and all they have is Wi-Fi, then what if it breaks down? But eventually, again, that electricity, the more electricity it has to use to call out to that Wi-Fi to send the signal back and forth, is more power going through your system, more heat. The other reason to use the Ethernet is it's just better for the gaming. Hardline is always going to be stronger and give you a better signal, a better connection than the Wi-Fi. So I use the Ethernet on my baby anyway. Whether it's not about longevity, it's just about the gameplay. The bonus is that it helps with the longevity of the system. And the last one I wanted to give you was to eject the disk when you're done playing. Again, multiple reasons for this. The main reason is because the disk reader, every time you turn the system on, tries to read the disk. Even if you don't have automatic automatic game start on, it's still going to try to read the disk just to see what it is. And from time to time, it might verify what the disk is. And if something happens to your system, God forbid, and it does shut down and break down, you're going to be stuck with your disk inside there. So like I tell my kids, always eject the disk, put it away. It's a good habit. And that way, if anything does happen in the system, you're not stuck with your disk or somebody else is in there. And again, it'll help increase the longevity of your Blu-ray player itself, which is built into the PS3. And your disc player won't keep drawing that electricity to keep spinning, to keep reading. Again, so that's my top 10 things that I would do to keep this PS3, the Slim, or the original models cooler, last longer. Again, I think this would be really helpful if you have had to recently repair your system, either using our technique, which is the hair dryer, or the full reballing, which is where you break her down, reball the motherboard, and replace the thermal paste and the pads. Either way, if you get it back from Sony, get it back from a repairman, what do you do to help prevent it from happening again? So these are some tips for that, and those tips for you guys who have never had the misfortune of going through the yellow light of death or the blinking red light. I hope this helps. Please comment, give me your ideas, your videos in the links below. Love to have them, love to hear from you. Thanks a lot for watching. Like, subscribe. Jesus bless you, and good gaming.